Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4 Equestria at War with me, Mega, and Griffonian Empire. So woe is us, our Emperor Grover V has just died and we are uncertain about our future. Actually, I'm very certain about our future, but we're uncertain about the future of the Empire as a whole, because I was kind of thinking about it, and considering that our stability is 8%, it's very likely that some of the counties that so far were loyal might not be all that loyal in the future. So we're gonna see who sticks with us through this crisis and who won't. Anyway, we can finally start setting up the national focus. So the Emperor is Dead has been unlocked and finished, and now we have the options of going either with the Council of Three or the Old Guard. The Council of Three says, the decadent noble scum can never again be allowed to hold the reins of the Empire, which belongs to holy griffins who are guided by the gods themselves and know well what is best for both the people and the nation. Thanks to their venerable wisdom, our future will be bright and blessed by Boreas. Yeah, that doesn't speak to me at all, so let's go with the Old Guard. The Archons would have you believe that the aristocrats are little more than drunken wretches, burning their money away on festivities filled with debauchery. Although we cannot speak for all of us, there is still a sizable hard-working majority who wish to see the Empire's glory properly restored, to restore our traditions and honor. So shall it be. Gets the event Duchess takes the stand. So the Duchess is going to apply herself to take control of the nation. The Emperor is dead. After a long 40-year reign, the Griffonian Emperor Grover V passed away in the Imperial Palace. Once a brief period of utter chaos in the capital ended, a proper Regency Council was established to guide and care for the Prince Grover VI and protect the Empire. A grand funeral procession was organized for the late Emperor in the capital, and a ceremony was held confirming Prince Grover VI's succession to the throne. Time will tell if the Regency will end like the last one in revolution and bloodshed. And here we have death of Grover V. The death of His Majesty is a formidable stone that fell from the top of the mountain, which rushed here to crush this colossus on feet of clay. Imperial noble griff about the Griffonian Empire. So I think this might be Duchess Gabriella, and this, I don't know who this is. This is probably some guard, and this could be the little Grover VI. The Empire hangs in the balance. It truly does. So the Old Guard is getting ready. Now we're, in the meantime, our army is getting reinforced with. Are we drilling or something? I just saw this go up. Or are we getting any attrition or something? No, doesn't seem like it. So it was probably just, no, it still says 78 day. No, it's going now. It's going now. Okay, chill. I thought that we were losing it. Anyway, we might be thinking about strengthening our army eventually. So, well, we have a lot of light tanks and we have the support. It would be kind of good to start producing also some of the trucks once we can. And the basic armored cars as well, because those will be fairly useful for us. Especially if we want to get more of those Panzer Grenadier divisions. How much do you need? You need 40 trucks per battalion here. Okay, so that is fine. Equestria Games. These annual celebrations of the Equestria Games in Crystal City have just come to a close, with Princess Celestia herself holding a moving speech about friendship and its importance for all of ponykinds. The games went ahead without any major problems, and ponies from all over Equestria, contenders and spectators alike, traveled to the Crystal Empire for this special occasion. Like every year, these games have helped ponies come together in friendship and tolerance, at least for the moment. We shall see whether this will have any major impact on pony politics in the near future. Quaint, but not our concern. Bronze Hill sends a gift. The dogs are sending us a gift. Interesting. In the wake of the Emperor's death, our vassals in Bronze Hill have presented us with a truly beautiful gift. It is a part of diamond dog culture that in the event of death, the dogs close to deceased will gather gemstone. The dogs close to deceased will gather gems, I'm reading that correctly, known as flower gems, and sculpt them into a memorial. These dogs have remembered their loyalty to the crown well, and have submitted their gift, crafting a truly impressive statue of Grover V constructed out of precious gems, gathered by hundreds of thousands of the county's citizens. Many have called for us to place the statue in the Imperial Mausoleum as a sign of our gratitude for the cherished gift. While it would no doubt be a glorious addition to the Emperor's tomb, it cannot be ignored that this statue would fetch a rather high price among art collectors, with the money helping to stabilize our budget. So send thanks to the Bronze Hill, they get plus 25 relations, and it's a shame that it never arrived. Okay, for 180 days we will the consumer goods factories and they are angry. No, we're gonna send our thanks to Bronze Hill. I appreciate your patronage. They're reopening the Bronze Croix Military Academy. Interesting. Okay. The crisis. So they can, the dogs can actually go with, stand with Gabriella, stand with the Archon, or they can go completely separate. That's interesting. They have the choice. Not many have the choice. Some of them work for the Witty Griffins. What? That's interesting. Limited intervention. Work for the unemployed. Okay. That sounds pretty neat. Work for the Witty Griffins. Like working in some kind of Griffin childcare home or Griffin home, basically. Well, Griffin home is basically Griffonheim. So, that is interesting. Okay, but I think that once we get enough equipment, we are gonna start drawing our armies a bit, so that we can at least get these guys to full strength. You also need to get to full strength. You have the Leicht Panzer 1 Corona and Truck die Ketze. I wonder who needs these weapons. How are we on the research? We actually burned quite a lot of days already. Okay, we're about halfway through with the research. Actually, the electromechanical engineering is going to be done very soon, so that is good. And the old guard will be finished very soon. So let's speed it up to max speed because here it's a waiting game at this point. So the old guard. The Archons, oh yeah, we read that. So we're going to get the event, the Duchess takes the stand. And we can now go with the Kleine Säuberung, Calm Voice of Reason, and a Dagger in the Dark. I guess we need to finish everything here, right? Yeah, because the Duchess requires all of it. So let's start with the Calm Voice of Reason. Grand Duke Gerwach IV of Thesea is respected by all, regardless of their standing or place in life. He is set to appear in Griffonheim soon to deliver a speech on the issue of regency. His support would do wonders for our cause, and Gabriella knows she needs only a small push to convince him. Cool. Okay, Duchess takes the stand. Poor Grover. He was too young, too fragile for this cruel world, but with change comes an opportunity. These were Duchess Gabriella's faults as she walked down the venerable halls of the Imperial Palace. As much as she personally considered the late Emperor her friend, she knew that he was no proper ruler. The conniving nobles have abused Grover for too long, and she was ashamed to share the same room with them. But that could be dealt with later on. She had a grand vision for the Empire, one that would make Boreas proud of Griffins again. I guess Boreas is a god that the Griffins follow, and more importantly, give the young heir a proper territory to rule once he is old enough. But first, she must deal with Eros and his thugs. Religious officials are such a nuisance. With that, she stepped into the council's chambers. The Archon was already there, giving his sermon to the gathered nobles. What a bother! She took a seat next to the Count of Bronze Hill, tuning out the speech and discussed the situation in hushed whispers. Gabriella ignored Eros's grandstanding until he finally decided to remove his old hide from the central podium. With that, she took her chance, strolled down to the center and addressed the room. My fellow nobles and other Griffins worthy of respect, the esteemed Archon speaks well of the situation. We must have stability, and we must reassert our authority. But how can we trust the Archonate to provide for our nation? She ignored the scowls Eros and his lackeys were sending her way. They talk of war, but do they care for the Griffin? How can we get anywhere before we modernize our beloved Herzwand? I'm gonna pronounce it Herzwand. Before we whelp our people? I implore you to consider the right choice. Cheers and applause followed, with a loud minority of jeers and claw-pointing. It didn't matter. The council will back her claim for regency, and Eros will be marginalized, consigned to the altar where he belongs, for the Empire and its noble peers. So changing popularity of non-aligned is increased by 2%, gain base stability plus 10%, and war support by 5%. The Rosewood Order declared war on the County of Longsword. The Longsword Liberation Army declared war on the Rosewood Order. The County of Longsword declared war on the Longsword Liberation Army. Okay, civil war in Longsword, yeah, that pretty much is it. The County of Longsword has been under the rule of the Reformistan faction of the Griffin Knights. These Reformistan have been cruelly persecuting the local ponies, while failing to address any of the other issues in their nation. Unrest has been brewing in the nation for some time now, with the ponies forming an organized resistance against the Reformistan. The Reformistan are actually Griffins, right? Wait. Yeah, here we have it. Yeah, the Reformistan were... Okay, so it's a pony uprising against the Griffins. Unrest has been brewing in the nation for some time now, with the ponies forming an organized resistance against the Reformistan. Rumor has it some Griffins, fed up with their government's atrocious behavior, have joined the ponies in their struggle. Meanwhile, the military and the Rosewood Knights have used the opportunity to revolt as well. Yeah, Rosewood Order. Those are Griffins. The Camarilla Knightly Order. Reading the saner elements of both, Conrada waving hopes to remind the Longswordians of their duty. Pallas Duskatlon, the Reformistan Count of Longsword, has denounced all his enemies, struggling to scramble his meager forces. Duskatlon has finalized control, but it seems like it's kind of equal. We'll see who's gonna win that. Who knows? Okay, Calm Voice of Reason is gonna be finished very soon. These are fairly quick, right? It's 20 days. 20 days, and the Kleine Zoiberung is 50, and that one will hit us kinda hard. It's probably some reform of the army or something like that. Okay, 79 guns required. So the Duke Gerlach of Thesia. Now let's get the dagger in the dark. So Gerlach's support. Time is of the essence, thought Duchess Gabriella. Her little speech gathered support for her cause, but it was still inconclusive whom will the council elect for the regency. The next matter to be discussed was the admittance of common-born Griffins of some repute to the council, and it simply cannot be allowed. Eros's blatant populism would spell doom for the Empire if the actual commoners found out about it, and no Griffin needs another 978. Fortunately, the opportunity presented itself. The Grand Duke of Thesia arrived in Griffonheim today, his coming unnoticed by most, as he was fond of traveling incognito. He was set to deliver his speech in the council chambers tomorrow, and while he is a pure-blooded noble, Gabriella suspected that the Archon's lackeys could persuade him to support an inferior cause. He can be irritatingly pragmatic sometimes, but the Duchess had her own plan in mind. She will invite him to dine at her Griffenheim estate and take advantage of his fondness for her in order to secure an alliance. Thus, the evening came, the two noble Griffins seated in front of each other, and the Duchess's opulent dining room. Pleasant chatter was exchanged over a traditional Thesian feast, with dishes such as snert and Maatjesharing Thankfully, he refrained from devouring the fish in primitive ways. It was certainly unbecoming to be seen doing such. As Gabrielle was about to make a comment on the latest gossip, she was suddenly interrupted by the normally tight-beaked Grand Duke. Lady Eagleclaw, I do not wish to disrespect your hospitality, but I am keenly aware of your invitation's purposes. This came as no surprise to her, as she made a strong effort to flatter his sensibilities. In fact, he gave her an opening to cut straight to the matter at Claw. Forgive me, Grand Duke, but I believe it is within our mutual interest to stand together against the Archons and their wicked schemes. They cannot be trusted to rule our legacy. As Gerwach silently considered the options, she pressed further. Think, what would Grover want? This got his attention, his eyes gleaming at the memory of the late Emperor. So it is, Duchess, so it is. Tomorrow at the council's meeting, Gabriella could only smugly listen to Gerwach's speech, lambasting the Archons for their irresponsible actions. This will certainly draw some of the indecisive nobles to vote for her regency. As his speech drew to a close, she thought about setting up another dinner. The Grand Duke is certainly easy on the eyes. Oh, you Duchess. So additional gain instability 5%, 50 political power, and changing popularity of non-aligned 2%. Okay, so the Council Party is growing. Yeah, the Rat der Drei is the religious party. Socialist Republic of Longsword was annexed. Okay, County of Longsword has capitulated, so yeah, the Reformisten are no more. Oh wow, they are actually swallowed by the Socialists. Agrarian Socialism. And now it's Decamarilla against the ponies. And the ponies have vast advantage in numbers. Or at least in number of units, so... Damn, we're gonna have a socialist nation right on our border. Okay. I guess we can live with that, though these things tend to grow. And I wouldn't doubt it. Oh no, actually they don't have much of a... Rifle manufacturers. For freedom! The final push. Actually, this might be just a transitional focus tree. They might get something more permanent very soon. So, dagger in the dark. Okay, we're almost done with the guns, so you guys can start drilling. Actually, speaking of the drilling, we have enough political power now to distribute it. So I'm gonna give our Field Marshal Erich Ebenwing a boost to his traits. He's now charismatic, so units will recover faster. You have something? No, you're done. Yeah, I assigned the Knights leader that has the Fortress Buster, Infantry leader, and Artillery Expert, because I think that that's gonna be very useful for them. The 2nd Infantry Army is led by Ferdinand Dawnquall. Okay, Ferdinand Dawnquall. He's an infantry leader and he's gonna be an infantry expert. So that gives infantry 14% extra defense and 10% extra attack. Considering he's leading infantry exclusively, that's pretty good. And what about you? Yeah, you're Panzer leader and Panzer expert. Okay, no traits needed there. We could actually go with military training now, spend some of the political power, but I think we might want to keep it for now, until we at least get Gabriella on the throne. So dagger in the dark. When words fail, we turn to subterfuge and deceit. Archon Arion holds least popularity within the common folk and the Regency Council. A fact we can exploit by calling upon some old friends within Romal to spread our words of choice. Friends in the Aerite Arcanet. Okay, let's go with the Coinage Zoiberung. No, this one first. That's just 20 days, so let's get it off the table. Reputation can make or break a griffin. The Duchess knew this well. Many nobles were left disgraced once the attention of unflattering comments landed on them, regardless of whether there was any substance of truth in them. Sometimes a noble griff simply crossed the wrong pier. Such were the rules of the courtly intrigue, and Gabriella was keenly aware of them. Which was why she decided to use these same tactics against the Archons. Although Eros and Proteus were unfortunately too beloved and incorruptible, the same could not be said for their weakest link, Areion. It was an open secret that he conducted himself in a manner considered shameful by even the priesthood of Aer's standards. Gabriella knew just how to exploit the situation. She was a friend of a local priest named Hephaestus, whose advancement was snubbed by Areion plenty of times. She was certain that he will be open to the suggestion of revenge in exchange for an open seat in the Arcanet, once the true order took control. With that, she began writing a letter, which would arrive tomorrow in Romau. In the free city of Romau, The following week saw plenty of controversy in Romau and beyond, as multiple accusations emerged targeting various high-ranking religious officials. The common Griffons were outraged to hear that their aims ended up funding extravagant parties, and worse yet, the tales of abuse committed upon the young initiates. While many of these stories had few facts behind them, and while Archons still had their claws full on trying to minimize the extent of the damage, the public opinion swung back in the nobles' favor. Everything is according to Gabriella's plan. Okay, so Supremacist dropped by 5%, we get extra 5% stability and political power plus 50. Awesome. Summer Sun Celebration. Ponies from all trots of life have gathered today in Canterlot. Okay, Canterlot is the capital of Equestria, right? Yeah, Canterlot. To witness the Summer Sun Celebration. Originally a holiday made to commemorate Princess Celestia's victory over the festering nightmare, nowadays it celebrates the longest day of the year, Princess Luna's return and the magic of friendship. Not a sound can be heard as the princesses climbed on the raised dais, took a long gaze on the gathered ponies and proceeded to raise the sun. The crowd watched in amazement at the grand display of the Alicorn's benevolence, and cheering continued long after the sun rose. Festivities continued for the remainder of the day, the spirit of Equestria resonating in the continued showing of respect to her traditions. Lies, our gods raised the sun, not her. Actually, this is pretty cool lore. There are two sisters in Equestria, Celestia, and the other one is called Luna. Celestia raises the sun and Luna raises the moon. And there was quite a lot of rivalry between the sisters, and effectively they already got involved in one major civil war, which saw Luna leave for about 1,000 years, and now she came back. And we might see the war break again very soon, tearing Equestria into a civil war. And if the Changelings invade at that time, well, it's the end of Equestria as we know it. So electromechanic engineering. Much interest and research into non-magical long-distance communication arose with the global increase in production due to the Industrial Revolution. As telegraphy and automated telephone exchanges enter public service, electromechanics promises a massive technological jump in communication and computing. Okay, well, we can go straight up to modern analytic engines, which are going to give us additional bonus, but it's going to take about 410 days to get that. Jesus. Takes forever. But our stability is slowly climbing up. Yeah, and despite the training, we are managing to stockpile enough equipment. That's good. We might eventually start training some more. I mean, I hate odd numbers, so getting at least one more infantry unit here very soon would be pretty good. How much do you need? 610 infantry equipment, support equipment further, and artillery 12. That's actually not that bad. We have the artillery already. So Longsword Liberation Army took one state, Rosewood Order was annexed. Rosewood Order has capitulated, so the communists won. So will they stay? Looks like they will. Okay, they got volunteers from the River Coalition. Okay, so support from the Nieder Adel. The insurrection of 978 has done wonders in covering the number of peers, yet there still remains a large amount of them who hold titles more than who hold little more than a fancy title before their names. They still hold influence and sway in numbers, and while we loathe to work with these lesser nobles, we value more our continued safety and tradition. A deal can be made, certainly. So, convincing the neither adel. The proper conduct of nobility is something every peer understood and upheld. At least that's what the Duchess believed. An exquisite upbringing, which would translate into a decent member of the high society, some grief to look up towards. And yet, to her eternal embarrassment, most nobles were content to engage in crass displays of debauchery, the kind that would make a priestess of air blush in shame. Still, they were smart enough to keep it behind curtains, unlike certain lesser aristocrats. These landless lords would continuously make fools of themselves, clinging to their empty titles and dressing in fashion that went out of style decades ago. Despite being genuine wastes of Boreas given air, Duchess Gabriella found a possible use for them. Man, she is a really big elitist, I tell you that. Despite holding functionally vacuous titles of the lands that haven't been under imperial control for decades, they were still peers, recognized by the imperial court. As such, should a sufficient number present their cause to the Regency Council, there would be no choice but to be accepted. Gabrielle only needed a few more claws on her side to claim the Regency for herself, and despite the distaste for their mockery of the peerage, went forth to persuade a sufficient number. It would be a busy day, but at least she knew where most of them spent their days. It would be a simple matter what to say and promise, and no guarantee for following on them later on. The following day, at the session of the Regency Council, had an unusual commotion, as a dozen foppish nobles interrupted the session and demanded that their privilege to be given and respected. The guards were close to kicking them out on the streets, but the Duchess interrupted, saying that their titles are legitimate. Thus they joined their colleagues, and when the vote came, they all voted unanimously for Gabriella Ingleclaw. The Archons were furious at being fooled yet again. They may be upstarts, but they're better than Eros. Okay, extra 10% stability, 50 political power, and change in popularity of non-aligned 3%. Okay, we're getting there, slowly getting there. So now we're gonna do the kleine Säuberung. And we are gonna see, yeah, this is gonna hurt us significantly. And it's something with the army. What does it say? The Empire is more unstable now than ever before. The Emperor's death has raised even greater concerns for us, specifically in the army. Many officers have become disloyal and treacherous, something that we cannot accept and tolerate if the Empire is to survive. We must purge all disloyal personnel at once, no matter the price. Okay, yeah, so it's an army purge. It makes sense why it's in between them. Both the Archon and the Duchess would want to do this eventually. And we are losing oil quite dramatically. Well, what can you do? What can you do? Still producing the weapons, still producing the support equipment. So I think that I might actually start working on that Imperial Guard division. If we added the recon detachment for now, how much would we need? 110, and we have 60 in storage. Okay, let's instead start training one of you. It's gonna be the 12th Division Raben. The Griffin frontier broke free from the influence of Nova Griffonia. Oh, really? Wait, Nova Griffonia, what was that? Oh, it's here, yeah. Griffin frontier. Yeah, and they're now Virgilia. Okay. Of things that never happened. What is this? An interesting book was published today, Of Things That Never Happened, by Boris Solartal. Is it? No, Solartail. Ah, Boris Solartail. Damn. Too many events. It follows the life of a character simply known as Ropshin, a Republican terrorist who has been ordered by his superior to assassinate the Vigbardian king Gumberto. His attempt fails, however, which changes the course of history. The empire never falls apart, and the revolution of 978 never takes place. As Griffonia prospers, Ropshin begins to question his republican values and eventually becomes a loyal supporter of the empire. While the premise of the story is rather simple, the writer focuses more on the character of Ropshin and his belief that the actual plot of the story, and some critics have even pointed out that at times it feels as if the character and the writer are the same person. Nevertheless, the book has been generally warmly received by both commoner and nobles alike. Okay, harmony lowers by 1% and political power increases by 5. Why not? New Daring Do book. After many months of anticipation, A.K. Rowling has finally released Daring Do and the Changeling Spectre, a thrilling espionage action thriller. In this latest entry to the franchise, Daring Do sneaks into Queen Chrysalis's capital, Vesalipolis, to find the Queen's Coven's Ark while being hunted by Queen Chrysalis's agent, the Spectres. After the light-hearted adventure trilogy, many reviews like Coldhead were shocked by Changeling Spectre's dark tone. Others like Quibblepants welcomed the book's awareness of the current political climate. Daring Do's newfound realism will shiver ponies' spines, but the author's latest entry has lost the escapist element that made her series so great. Still, the book has sold thousands of copies on the first day, and Applewood movie producers have already inquired about film rights. 7 out of 10 stars. And the Grand Galloping Gala, the annual ball held at Canterlot, I think it's Canterlot Castle tonight. Royal family, higher ranks of equestrian government and friends are gathering at the event to enjoy the evening and discuss political issues. Fancy drinks and classical music were accompanying it throughout the night. The ball has ended with splendid fireworks display. Equestria does not fail to support her traditions. To many ponies, this is an assurance of stability and prolonged peace in good old Equestria. And the Constitutionalist Army declared one on Carthaginian Republic. Where the hell is Carthaginian Republic? Oh, that's in the new continent. Yeah, okay, so you are at war with each other. Okay, this is actually the one with the national focus, and a pretty decent one. The new addition in this update. Constitutionalist uprising in Carthage. The political opposition in Carthage, consisting of the Constitutionalist and Harmonite factions, have launched an armed uprising against the government of the Zarka family. The leader of the rebels, Zano Mzekatid, has accused Sufrit Zalatel Zarka of subverting the Republic's ancient constitution and rigging the last year's elections. In response, Zalatel blamed Hippogriphia for trying to stage a coup in his country and vowed to swiftly crush the uprising. More conflict in Zebrica. And what a cacophony of sounds. Wait, we get an event, and here it says, the blame for the bloody civil strife is not those who, being oppressed, were forced to take up arms, but those who forced them to take up arms. Interesting word again. The Barrack Revolt. Ferdinand Dornclaw sat in his office, located in one of the innumerable military bases that dotted the capital of Griffonian Empire. Ferdinand considered himself a patriot, and in a sense that was true. He did love the Empire in his own strange way, and it was precisely because of that love that he had to rebel. In his mind, the Empire simply couldn't survive without a radical change in the status quo. Could an already weakened Empire survive with a mere child in charge, with the nobles circling around him like vultures? No, something had to be done. Ferdinand knew that his chances of success were slim, and that he would most likely just go down in history as another nameless traitor to the Empire, a fool whose futile rebellion was quickly crushed. Reports started to trickle in. His forces were converging on the Imperial Palace, and soon they would face the Palace Guard in direct combat. Ferdinand could do nothing but wait, and hope that the soldiers could match the ferocity of the hardened defenders that they now faced. The next few minutes would decide the fate of the entire empire, and by the extension the course of the history itself. The revolt is crushed, or the soldiers storm the palace. Actually, I know about this one. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna spoil it, but there is a secret path that you can take for your empire by actually having them succeed in here. We're not gonna do that, we're just gonna let them get crushed and end this arc completely. But there is a way, if you want to see an alternate path for the empire, you can let that revolt succeed. We are not gonna do that in this playthrough. Not because I consider that a bad option, but because I think that we have the regular path to go through first. A traitor's death. Ferdinand Dawnquaw, one of the Empire's most recent traitors, was publicly executed in the capital today, with the event drawing little attention from the rest of the Empire. Ever since attempting a failed coup several days ago, the Griffin had simply awaited his fate. Once the time finally came to lay judgment down on him, no leniency was taken, and he was found guilty of high treason as well as conspiracy to commit regicide. There was only one punishment worthy of such evils, and he was sentenced to be hung from the gallows at the dawn. The Griffin offered no defense for himself, staying silent through the entire court case, seemingly having accepted his fate. The execution itself was a subdued event, with a scant few military officials and curious onlookers showing up. Of the few Griffins presented at the event, Elias Bronsdale was the most senior in rank, showing up out of the little respect that he had for the foolish general. There were no grand speeches of denunciations at the execution. Ferdinand was simply led up to the gallows, and minutes later he hung dead in the air. In the end, Ferdinand Dawnquaw died a mundane death, one which was observed by few. He would be a footnote in history, another mad general driven by a lust for power, an insignificant traitor whose pitiful rebellion was put down before it could even start in the earnest. It was a fitting end. Good riddance, extra political power and game-based stability, and we remove Ferdinand Dawnquaw from the Griffonian Empire. Well, okay. We'll have to search for someone else. Anyone who would have infantry leadership here? I don't... infantry. Nope. Okay, so let's use Oscar Silverfeather here. Skilled staffer. Yeah, he's gonna get extra size of his army, so eventually if we get more infantry, he's gonna serve us well. His skills are not bad, 3-2, 5-2. Well, let's keep him running the army. Okay, and let's end the episode by the kleine Säuberung. The purge must happen. And once our Duchess eventually takes over the control of the Empire, we are going to start to invest the political power. I just don't want to do it yet for roleplay reasons, because, you know, we want to keep it as friendly and story driven as possible. Nova Griffonian declared war on Virgilia. Yeah. Well, you were the Griffonian frontier, so it makes sense that you would try to take them back. Virgil's Raiders. Okay, here's the kleine Säuberung. So let's hear it for the event. Or is there no event? Well, bankers and industrialists are coming next, but I think there should be an event, right? I haven't really checked. No, there's no event. Okay, I guess this might be a reaction to the revolt, actually. Okay, thank you very much for joining me. This episode has been a bit longer, but we're driving the story home pretty nicely. We're actually training some more units, which is good. And we don't have the trucks we need. Okay, considering we have quite a lot of production of the artillery, and we have a lot of it in reserve, I'm actually gonna put the trucks up there and take one of the artillery factories and put it on the trucks. Cool. So thank you very much for joining me. Now see you in the next episode with more tales of the Griffonian Empire.